I love stuff like that.
Gemstone.
Oh yeah, I got really good stuff at the Lapidary show the last time it was in town. We're like, no,
The one at the fairgrounds, like Rockingham.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice. We got some good stuff. You got your crystal necklace and yeah, she got this.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a really cool pendant.
Really cool rings there.
Yeah, there was a bunch of cool stuff.
I love that show.
I almost got my low back waffle.
Almost got it.
It was me.
Made it like halfway.
Yeah, I got the going down part, but it's
Takes a lot of
Oh, way better than darts.
To like pull yourself
Well, because it's like a
up,
golf ball.
Yeah.
back
They
up.
cut
So
far
like,
easier.
Yeah.
That's
and it's a way that you don't use abs
Core
in any
muscle.
other, and you don't
Yeah.
use abs in that
Better
manner
than
really in
darts
any
in
other
terms of
activity.
No.
Because it's like a
So
whole like,
a dart has to
It's
be
like
almost,
higher.
it is,
and then
it's
it'll
way
still have
high
a bit
to
of
like,
sway,
Right.
and then the worse the dart gets, the worse
have
the
to
sway
get
gets.
yourself
The ball
up
is a
and
little
over
worse
and
than
defeat
pristine,
gravity all in the same
but it
process.
just doesn't wear out.
Right.
They get smashed and they come right back. It's a different kind of foam and they're round.
Heat's exhausting.
So it doesn't matter. They don't really get misshapen.
Just
Even a little bit of a
sweatshirts in the heat.
pock mark, that's still gonna fly.
You're cold.
But my favorite thing is they don't jam. Just don't jam. Mechanisms are designed in a completely different way. And if it runs in a little sideways,
It's still
it's a spear.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The same
So
thing.
hot
Pushing up,
that
but it just
it's
doesn't
like-
jam.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So that's pretty cool.
Such a fine.
There's a Caleb gave me mine and Andy his as our like best man bachelor or bachelor as like the best man in the making gifts. And so I was actually gonna hold out. There's a new gun that they announced at a toy fair, but it's not like a detail yet.
Yeah.
It's called the Nemesis, and it works like a paintball gun. It has a hopper, and you just dump the balls in. And there's like a little like shuffling mechanism at the bottom that gets them to load one by one. And it's like a corkscrew slash conveyor belt.
Okay.
So it just like shuffles them up a little, and then it starts to suck them down into it. And so you can just leave the top open if you want, and just be like firing full automatic, and be like tossing it, but it's fully automatic. You can just pull the trigger down, and it
No,
will
she
just
was
be
filling out
spinning
paperwork.
around.
She got introduced to us.
But it's gonna be like $100. Luckily, the first one I got
Is
was
it in
free.
your canister, right?
No, it's all battery. It still uses a Hot Wheels launcher. So, but it's supposedly as strong as the actual
Okay.
like plunger power one.
Keep it low, man.
Drive hair ties
They made it so that it takes enough D batteries.
You want to hear
My
something?
hair's just starting to get long enough to even think about carrying hair.
So you can actually get hacks that just kind of click onto the back of the gun,
Yeah.
and you can
I might even
recharge
have
it
color
like
options. That's how.
Oh my
Plug it back and
goodness.
put it in your
Check
backpack.
her out.
Good to go.
That's awesome.
Boy, you would think that she does hair or something.
Uh-oh.
That would be a really cool business card somehow if you could have like a hair tie be your business card somehow.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be smart? But I wonder how you could do it.
That's really smart.
But it would be rad.
That would.
Yeah.
Okay, I spoke too soon. I have a tiny one and a scrunchie.
Can't really go wrong with an 80s
Oh, he touched
scrunchie.
it. Touched it.
I had friends in high school that wore scrunchies as bracelets and tried to deny it for the first 3 times until I called her out and was like, look, you're wearing it again. You're not putting your hair up. What are you doing?
She's just prepared.
It's a bracelet. She would wear 2 that coordinated with a double layered socks.
I like that.
Yeah, I just did.
All right, super tiny or really big?
Really big.
Okay.
That one won't work.
This one will work. You do like a half of
Olivia.
Yeah.
Olivia.
I think I have regular ones in my car. I forgot. I'm usually really prepared. They also have many bobby pins.
Pull it up too close. It's not like a unicorn.
I know, but I do that every single day. You don't even have long enough hair to do it.
I have long hair, but up now.
Yeah, like this.
You get on the side, not getting dirty.
Would I want to put my hair up like that, even if it were long enough? Is my question, dear. Did you tell Lexi what you did yesterday?
I heard about it. I heard about it on Sunday.
Did you get it this season?
Yeah. You're not gonna put your hair down. She's fine. Okay. Do you want me to put it up for you?
No,
Okay.
We gotta come and visit you. Get our hairs cut again.
earlier today, like the back part of it, and then I didn't like it, so then I washed it out.
With what? Hopefully it came out. Because we don't put color in your hair at all. It's just gonna suck it like a sponge.
East and leaves again, and so I put up, she's got hair just like, and I put a little purple in there. Even though I covered it in the conditioner and washed it, that's
Totally.
still, just even drying it, it just spreads, not just the blood, it's chunky.
Yeah.
But she likes it still, so I'm gonna wash it.
That's good.
Unless you do like all in your ends. So you don't have to worry about it, you can just be on your ends. No.
I said I like it. Oh, that's what I want to do, I think. I think I want to keep this in the front because
They're not
this
the
just
same
does.
color. You lied.
I know, we did something different. She got a new purple that she wanted me to try, so we compromised. I tried the new purple and she put
And I don't like the new purple.
great. Come on, Rebecca. You're entitled to it.
She asked you.
I didn't really.
I need to get my nails done. I feel like chicken.
I want to get a, well,
You know how much it is?
yeah, I think I want to leave this in the front rather than fight it, and then have fun color, like, when it's getting longer, like, have fun color be more of, like, the under, like, as it gets longer, have it be, like, the under to come. So it's not, like, underneath all the way around, but, like,
Just little pieces.
yeah, just kind of like this. Yeah, almost. That would be cool. And easy to like maintain, but it's like 3 different colors right now, so I can't even color. I can't color it at home because I don't even know what color it's gonna end up where right now.
Right.
So I'm just like, oh, well, I get paid soon. I can come and have some help
It
with
looks
it.
fun. It looks fun. It's good. I like it.
Because I still had a month's worth of work that I had to do. And I'm not currently working. There's 3 months of it that I don't still get paid for the work. Whitney's my mom. Stop talking.
Winnie Bug! Hi! Do you want to be up here?
Oh, thank you.
Boom. Good. How are you? Yay!
Alright, you're good.
Wait, so what is...
Haven't called out?
So haven't I see how
Hey.
so my is coming.
How's summer going?
Yep.
Yours?
Are you sure? Is it okay?
Are they like, oh, because it was your controller. Oh, no. The gel?
Like, up here.
Yes.
Do you want to hold it? Or do you want to
Awesome. It makes a lot of
So,
sense.
okay.
That's what, when Olivia goes to my nail lady, that's a lot of what she gets done. She just gets like my polish and then she does top coat of the gel. So that's what nails. But you don't want to be part of my conversation. Sit over there. You don't like my nails and what I talk about anyway, so.
Alright,
Hello. I left my phone at home too. I was gonna put my phone bucket to see if you didn't win.
But I would have won.
Now we'll never know because I don't have it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I do. Check, check, check. Make yourself louder than me because I am a loud singer. Yay! I haven't like been around with worship and stuff for a while, like with you, you know? Except in the main, that's true. Check, check. Perfect. Oh,
That last week? Nice. Do you want here? I'm just over here since I have a plug. Oh my gosh. He's like, can you fill in? I was like, would I? Probably wouldn't need bugs since she was a baby, so maybe that's not a fierce thing. And it works. Oh my gosh. How are you feeling?
Nothing I can do about having to stay sick for 3 days.
I had a
Shot.
migraine that made me throw up, so I had morphine. Yeah, that was a fun night. It was like, I was like really relaxed, and I started to fall asleep, and my mom was like, you used to be able to fall asleep in front of the Dollar Tree, and over the independent bread taking me. The Dollar Tree? Yeah, it was like, on this little story. It's like, I started waking up and it was like, yeah, I'm really starting to brain down a little bit. I'm gonna worry about it. I brain was like, the directions of the empire. That is so cute. I love it. It's funny too, because like I'll get him wet and try and like get him down, and he's like, no. Too happy. Okay. Yes. Yes, you were. It's just sometimes I can't decide what I want to do with it. It's like, I can put it up in a ponytail, but I hate. Yes, Norman.
It's Stormy.
We've had the air on our
That's kind of cute though.
She's like,
that's an
Did you guys end up together? I think it's gonna be last round.
like my bangs are just hugs.
I love you too.
Crazy. I mean, you can have all one length hair. I actually
See,
know
it's meant to just kind of sip on. It's
Well, it's almost been a year. Which then made me realize that I gave them 10 days and I was like,
When you come here, it's literally
the year goes really fast. I feel like she had a little blonde juice cover them up.
because they were like in the side color and then sometimes
Yeah, it was like a bronze color, and then it faded to blonde. How cool were those colored roots? I know, I've seen so many stuff like that. One of my instructors in school, she would go upstairs and find some stuff, and every time she saw the roots blonde, and so she would just color them in crazy colors. And then her hair dried, she'd dye it black. And so every time she had blonde roots, she just color it in crazy color. Like when she like pulled her hair over, it was like rainbow, and like this, I saw that picture. She sent me a picture.
like, I'm like, I don't even know, red and about your ducks today, that was my best friend.
It looked so lion.
It looked, yeah, if I would have showed up at home without ducks for you, you would have been super tragically upset.
I know.
Right now that I showed up with it, it was really different. I told her I would spend your money now.
No, gotta use the good stuff. The good stuff doesn't do that. The good stuff you can actually rush through it.
I gave my last dollar.
And no flakes, no steak.
I should have just let you pay for the cash and all my stuff. It's just like, you told it to like, because I have cash in my case back.
Oh, really? That's really fun. I'm really excited about it. A big twist all the way She's so cute. I remember her. So I miss her last year.
Yeah, she was amazing. I know. Oh, she's gonna pay for like concealer.
After on that floor. You don't even need to practice. Kids started sewing. She was like, no. Before she would talk, I was like, oh my God.
No, I'm sure she'll make it the same, right?
Oh no, she will be.
Yeah, I know Dave has a too. Yeah,
It's kind of gross after you put it on all day.
I have it.
You know, like if you put on makeup or even if your face
How to
just
get
harmony
to
is
Well, you're easy to harmonize with. Because I'm a man.
it's gross.
But you're like so close to like tight.
So it's kind of gross, but it's kind of cool.
High notes and thing.
And then
I try. I mean, like the lower thing. Yeah, there you go.
I have to get
It just makes things.
my team is 18.
Oh, that's it.
yes. But it's just such a project. I like
Be right back.
Where they like called life hacks.
I just finished with the kids.
It was good. It's just you take
So
you can do the same thing. Or the
Yeah, and bleach.
you take that.
It's even better for us. I think I like that one. There it is.
I did make you. Your dad and I both made you. Actually, God made you. Noah, Noah. Don't make me pressure. I don't know. We don't.
Yeah, go away.
Not funny. Hey, where's
Is it fixed? Or is it still broken? Lexi, is it fixed or still broken?
What do you mean? Well, this,
I heard it broke.
it did not break. It went in for an upgrade.
Oh.
Plug in now. See?
Very nice. No, I was just curious about you. No, that's
Never mind. Sorry.
yeah.
It's okay.
You can sit on the stool. Come out here into the center zone. So, we have a long-standing tradition some of you guys may or may not remember because the last time we had a new leader was many moons ago. And it was Sander. And I don't know if you guys remember what we did for Sander. Well, we put him in, yes.
Can we have nap time?
You can have nap time during the game. That is completely fine. Go for it, sir. You look like you've been outside a lot.
Swimming for 4 hours.
Yeah, you need a nap. Take that nap. Do
Good
it now.
night.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a game called the Hot Seat. And if you guys run out of questions for Whitney, then we'll switch it up. We'll put someone else in the hot seat. But the idea is we want you guys to get to know Whitney. And so we want to give you guys the opportunity to ask her anything. Questions could range anywhere from what's your favorite food to eat to have you ever water skied over a shark. You know, these are all up for grabs. You guys can just, I don't know what you're talking about. You guys can just throw these questions out in any direction you want. Whitney can choose not to answer, but I think we'll just give her like 3 passes only, and then we'll say she has to answer them. So, just raise your hand if you have a question. Whitney will call on you, and then you can ask your question, and she'll give you an answer. Leaders can ask questions.
Yes. If you could only eat one like ethnic type of food for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Chinese food.
It's a good choice.
What's your color?
Red.
Obviously.
I know that.
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 19 years old. Still a teenager. Yes.
What's your least favorite color?
Least favorite orange. Sorry, guys. Just don't like
Really?
it. I know. There's. Oh, I'm sorry.
Apologize for my shorts.
That's a good
We're all
orange.
kind
I
of
don't like
we're
the
like
bright
sandwiching
orange.
her in orange.
You know, like traffic cone orange.
Yeah, exactly. Do it.
Do what?
Ask the question.
Ask the question. Wait, do you like broccoli?
No. Why don't you ask this?
What's your favorite pet?
What?
Don't
Dog.
you raise your own hand. Raise your own hand.
Yeah,
Have
Noah.
your own thought.
Yeah, Noah.
Have your own
Be
hand.
careful.
I know.
No, you raise your own hand.
Wait. No.
You're-
Okay.
wait,
Everyone doesn't have any hands.
Raise your hand.
What if you just have like one?
How long does it take to do your hair?
It's natural, so I just like put some mousse in it. So it takes like 5-10 minutes after I shower.
The Lord loves
Time.
her. That's why.
No, it's crazy. All right, anybody else?
Really? That's all you guys have?
What's your favorite thing to
What's the
do?
craziest thing you've ever done?
Probably climb onto a billboard and
Ooh.
stand on it. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
What's your favorite thing to do in your spare time?
Favorite thing to do in your spare time?
Well, I love to sing, and you can kind of do that everywhere, so I like that.
Huh?
Okay. What? All right.
Frozen yogurt or ice cream?
Oh. That's the toughest question I've been asked
Actually,
all evening.
We looked up what
Probably
frozen
ice
yogurt
cream.
yesterday.
Favorite flavor?
Strawberry.
What
up?
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla. I don't like chocolate. That's something you should know about me. Yeah.
In any form?
No, I'll eat like a Butterfinger
Freak
or
of
like
nature?
a Snicker bar, but I don't like Hershey chocolate or like a Kit Kat. I'm not a fan. I don't like frosting in it.
Allergic to.
Or
So what about a cake?
chocolate.
You just like it.
Yeah, I don't really like cake. I mean, I'll eat it plain, but like, who wants like? What do
Plain
you do?
cake.
Oh, can I have some cake? You scrape the frosting off. You know, like I wouldn't do that.
We get
Yes.
along
What's
so
your favorite
well.
sport?
What?
Who did you call on?
What's your favorite sport?
Soccer. Yes.
What's your favorite Bible verse?
Well, I have Micah 6:8 and then like Psalm 86 for a psalm. You know, you remember like VBS, the Act Justly, Love Mercy, Walk Humbly with Our God? It's like a song. That's Micah 6:8, and I really liked it. But anyway, yes.
Peanut butter or caramel?
Both
She doesn't like
disgusting.
chocolate, so that's kind of a hard thing. That's
Both of those
usually
are disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose one, probably peanut butter. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, like caramel's like
She's not a sweet
do
person.
that much with it.
Neither am I.
And butter.
Yellow cheese or white cheese?
White cheese.
Everything's better with butter.
Yes.
I love both. Peanut butter jelly or honey and peanut butter. So I pretty much it looks different.
Is there bananas in the honey and peanut butter?
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Then yes. Then yes.
There has to be.
Remember what?
Crash your car. You can't whip it.
Actually, funny story.
But it tastes the same.
So at college, when I was getting ready for my 8 a.m. exam, I went into the parking garage, and there was one spot left, and it was between cars that were like really close together, but I thought I could make it. So I actually scratched the car right next to mine, which was a new 2015 Sentra. So that was awful, because it's college. You think, you know, like, why would I take that car and hit? But anyway, so I did. That's the one car crash I've gotten into. So it just made my insurance go up.
Oh, perfect.
It's okay. It's okay.
Have you ever broken any bones?
I've broken a wall with my head though,
And
so I won.
and a wall with
Hospitalized?
your knee.
Oh, and I broke a wall with my knee. In here, actually.
Oh.
Junior high room when we raced.
Okay.
That's why I don't think we're allowed to do it. Yes.
What is the first injury? Well, the worst injury that you've had?
In a soccer game, collided with the goalie. I ended up like bruising my bone inside my shin and then my knee as well. So I like couldn't play. I was out for the season, which was really sad. So that hurt really bad. Yeah, I couldn't even
Was it the
like
beginning of
bend
the
down
season?
like this. Like that was.
Was it in the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it was the first game.
Oh.
It was the
How long
worst.
did that happen?
And it was like gonna be a goal too, and then the goalie just like, and it was co-ed, so it was like a
How was
big
the
guy
goalie?
He was fine, and I was like on the ground. Usually I can get up. I was trying to shake it off, but like I couldn't walk, so that was unfortunate.
What's your favorite
I'm
movie?
fine, I can't
Favorite
jump
movie?
up.
Oh, I like Phantom of the Opera, which is preference. I understand if you probably haven't seen that, but yeah, it's a good movie.
Never seen it.
Might have.
I've seen it live. It's really cool. They're really good at singing. All right. Anybody else?
Ooh, what's your favorite band? Band.
So mine.
Favorite band. Well, I don't know if I have a favorite band as of now. I loved Reliant K growing up. They've kind of changed over time. But I do love Whitney Houston because I was named after her. So she's like my favorite singer.
One of them's dad.
But yeah.
Dad's
What do you want to do after college?
Like just job wise?
I want to work with kids because they're awesome.
I thought you were gonna go to college and then work at Taco Bell.
Yeah, exactly. That was my first choice, and then they didn't have that as a major, so I was
Del
like, I
Taco.
guess I'll go with childhood.
Yeah, you got two options.
What's
your favorite YouTuber?
I don't really watch YouTubers that much. Sorry. Yeah.
What's your favorite type of car?
Oh.
Damn, that's hard. There's like a
The car that you
So
have.
many cars.
car she has.
Probably like any kind of convertible. I used to love the little Volkswagen Bugs, but then Jeep, actually a Jeep. That's my favorite.
Hey!
I love
Favorite?
Jeeps. Forgot about that. Yes.
Do you like glitter?
Yeah, I mean, not too much.
In moderation.
Yeah,
In
moderation.
I feel like with glitter, there isn't moderation.
That's true, but like you can put a little glitter on your face
There
versus
can
like
be.
glitter.
There's a little. Just
Okay.
a little.
Oh, glitz.
Shimmer.
That's glitz.
You're talking about
Moderate.
shimmer. Shimmer, not glitter.
No,
Yeah,
it's shimmer,
yeah.
glitter, whatever.
I have one.
Do I like
Sparkle?
what?
A free shabakadu.
What is that? I don't know if I like it or not.
Do you like a free shabakadu?
We don't know what that is.
What is that?
Come on, Sam, you gotta tell
It's
me.
they messed up on the sign at Del Taco once.
It was supposed to say a fresh avocado.
That's fantastic.
And it says fish wakadu.
This is a free shabakadu.
Wait, what?
It sounded so
Free
German.
A free shabakadu. Okay, that's my new
I want
favorite
a
word.
free
Just
shabakadu.
love that word.
Order that when I go to
That's replacing curmudgeon. I've been using curmudgeon a lot lately, but I
That is
like
pretty
that
fantastic.
word. I work in first grade, so like, it's very descriptive,
Oh yeah, yeah.
very accurate.
How many instruments do you play?
Sweeter.
Well, I sing and I do piano, so that's like it. Not really. I haven't played in a while.
I want to learn ukulele, but I haven't picked it up yet. But like my hands are too small for the guitar to hit like.
No, they're not. You can.
What size shoe do you wear? What size shoe do you wear?
8.
You were just gonna brag about your shoe size.
No.
He's like, me too.
No, I'm not.
No, you're probably bigger than that.
How do I tell her my shoe
Women's size
I know
is
so
small.
You guys size
How
27.
do I lead?
Jade has a question.
Jade has questions.
Hi guys.
Jade has a question.
Yes.
Jaden.
How tall are you?
5'6".
I'm short.
You're still growing.
What's your favorite thing to drink?
Ooh. I love the pumpkin chai at Dutch Bros. Yeah. But I mean, like, in general, I just drink a ton of water all the time. It's like all I drink.
What's your favorite drink? Water.
Yeah. Which is pretty basic. But it's good for you, and it's cheap. You go to a restaurant, you just get water, and then they don't charge you anything.
Olivia has a question.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
Ooh, recently. So, I was
like,
at.
please.
I know. It
I'm
happened.
curious, are you changing it to recently to avoid something else?
No, this is like the most embarrassing
Okay,
thing.
I'm just double checking.
Yeah. No, so I was at college and I was in a class and it was in this like kind of small lecture room. So and he lectures the entire time with a PowerPoint and he's one of those teachers that would just kind of point you out if you do something wrong. So I had a salad like container with me and I guess the lid wasn't on really well. So I pull out my laptop, I got my salad on my desk and my water right next to it. And I was a little late to class too, so the teacher's already like watching me go and sit down. So I pull out everything, and then the salad lid pops off, and it's like already on the edge of the desk. So the remains of the salad just like pop all over my laptop and on the floor. And then the teacher just like kind of keeps going because I was just like, oh my gosh, I have salad everywhere. And the dressing was already in it, so there's just dressing all over the place on my laptop. And I'm like, should I freak out right now? I don't want to be a distraction. So then I was like, okay, I'll get napkins after he stops lecturing. And so then I finally am picking up everything, and then like it's totally silent, and I didn't realize he had stopped talking, and I was just like looking at him. He's like, "You okay over there?" I was like, "Yes." Super embarrassed, but yeah. So then I picked up my salad and wiped it up, and it was fine. But my laptop didn't get hurt, so that's good. But yeah, it was super embarrassing.
I didn't know your laptop.
What college do you go to?
Chico State. Yeah. Pretty fun. You guys should go there.
Let's go.
Anybody else? That was a stretch. I thought that was the hand was ready. Yes.
What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Toyota Corolla. 2005. It's white. Yes.
What type of computer do you have?
Mac. I'm a Mac person, yeah. Well,
A lot of
just because of
people are.
college, yeah.
All right, you guys have any last questions?
Jaden,
What's your favorite store?
store.
Oh, that's hard. For everybody.
I like Target a lot. Target's pretty fun.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's the place.
You like riding on the shopping
Whoa.
carts through it.
Yes.
Okay, you said that your favorite food is Chinese food. Your favorite, like if you had to pick an ethnic food to eat, what is your favorite thing within
Chinese food.
Chinese food?
Okay, I got like my top 3 that I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
So walnut strips from Happy
Yeah,
Garden.
the honey
Yes.
walnut with like the shrimp is deep fried and it's got yeah, Thelma's special.
I like the chicken chow mein there as well. Which
Yeah.
is super good.
At Happy Garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I usually either get beef and broccoli, I think, is like my third
Yeah.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good stuff, yes.
Alright, good.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Ooh. I love Hula's so much. It has a deer spot. in my
What was
heart.
it? We haven't had that for a long time.
Go get Hula's.
We
It
need to
smells
go
so
to
good. If you like
Hula's.
go to Target, you
If
smell
you're
Hula's.
even in the vicinity,
And it's so tempting.
it's like you're always between the smell of In-N-Out or Hula's.
It's just, there's no like.
It's a happy pocket of smell.
Unless you're pregnant and then it's not.
Occasionally, Outback Steakhouse has
It
it.
doesn't count.
Favorite what?
Pretty
Drink
torturous.
place.
Dutch
Like
Bros.
A lot of people say that.
I mean, it was Starbucks, but then Dutch Bros was like.
I've only
Well,
been
I
there
became a
once or
Christian
something.
at Dutch
You'll go
Bros,
there
so
more, I
that's my
feel like.
favorite.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to beat.
I know my
the
dad's a huge
consequences.
Starbucks person. They like.
Dutch
his
gives
name
you
there.
rewards. That's what I like
That's what
about
I
it.
like, yeah.
Dutch gives you rewards and they give you stickers. And
And if you
Starbucks
have
just
friends
gives
that
you
work there,
attitude
they
and
like
the price of
fill
coffee.
up the stamp.
Yes.
What's your favorite sports team?
I don't really watch that many sports. Honestly, I only watch like World Cup. So, but USA kind of stinks. So I don't know. Kind of.
True.
Yeah, I just kind of root for
And some
Messi.
sports.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, only soccer really. USA's pretty good. Everything else. Yes.
What's the most disgusting thing that you ate?
That I've eaten? Oh.
Top your time.
I know.
I had this. Okay, so we were trying this like ethnic food at my house, and it was literally stuff that was wrapped in a leaf. And so looking at that, I was like, "We're supposed to eat this? What?" And so I tried it, and it was like some Israeli food, and I really didn't like it. It was like bitter and stuff. I didn't like it.
It was like beer.
Yeah.
All of leaves are bitter.
Did you? Okay. Yes.
Or grapefruit.
What's your favorite style of clothing?
Athletic? I don't know. I like. I don't know. It kind of depends on what, you know.
You mean
I
like
like.
fancy occasion? Or like
No,
every day?
What do you mean? Like what? Like give me some examples. Like
Like
preppy or like that kind of a thing.
She's athleisure, honey.
Yeah, I like athletic stuff, and I'll wear a dress though. Like, I mean, I like to spruce it up. I'm not like, I don't go emo and punk
She's
and
classy.
stuff, but yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
What's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen in your entire life?
I've ever seen.
Baby poop at
Like
Sunday.
like in a
Yeah.
movie
Wait,
or
what?
just like in
Anyway,
general, like in real
anywhere.
life.
Yeah.
Changing a
One
baby's
time,
diaper.
This is my sister.
oh. No, Sam! Oh my gosh.
Wait,
Don't
what
say that.
This is my sister.
I'm like best friends with her. Okay, I saw this thing that I thought was a rag on the ground, and it was like a half dead bat. And that was really gross. And it freaked me out because I was gonna pick it up to like fix it, and then it was just this dying bat thing. That was really creepy. Yes, Jaden.
what's your favorite brand of shoe?
Oh my god.
I just like flip flops. I don't have a
That's
brand.
not a brand.
All right,
I know, I don't
think
really-
I think we'll close with flip flops.
Sweet.
We're done.
Good.
Call it good.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much for playing, Whitney.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. All right, with that, we're actually going to move into worship time.
Sweet.
We have Lexi on loan from Sundays. If you guys come on Sundays, you know that Lexi is one of our leaders who leads in worship, especially. And tonight we have her and Whitney instead of Jamie.
Is going.
Did they swap? Is Jamie downstairs?
No, he's working.
Yeah, Jamie is working overtime because of EBS. He usually cleans during that part of the day, and
Right.
he cannot because there's too much going on.
Have a 2 in a row.
Alright guys, could you stand with us? Please? Oops, sorry, that was loud. Daniel, could you open us in prayer?
Lord, we ask you to bless this time, draw us close to you, help us to really focus on you and to push aside all distractions. Help us to lift your name up and really get a sense of your glory right now. Lord, we want to give everything to you. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Open our eyes, Lord, let us see all that you are, all that you mean. Open our ears, Lord, let us hear all that you are, be loud and clear, and please be near. As our praises arise, may your presence fall. Heaven fall down. Spirit pour out on us all now. Heaven fall down. Come, Jesus, come like the wind. Fill up this place, we welcome you in. Oh, come, Jesus, come like the rain. Open the sky, show us your face. Oh, Lord, we wait. And as our praises rise, may your presence fall. Heaven fall down. Spirit pour out on us all now. Heaven fall down. And we're crying out in desperation, waiting now in expectation, crying out in desperation for you. Sing that again. And we're crying out in desperation, waiting now in expectation, crying out in desperation for you. Heaven fall down. Spirit pour out on us all now. Heaven fall down. Heaven fall down. Jesus, Lord of heaven, I do not deserve the grace that you have given, or the promise of your word. Lord, I stand and wonder at the sacrifice you made, with mercy beyond measure, my debt you freely paid. Your love is deeper than any ocean, higher than the heavens Jesus, Lord of heaven. I do not deserve the grace that you have given, or the promise of your word. Lord, I stand in wonder at the sacrifice you made, with mercy beyond measure. My debt you freely paid. Your love is deeper than any ocean, higher than the heavens reaches, beyond the stars in the sky. Sing, your love is deep, your love is wide. Your love is deep, your love is wide. Your love is great, your love is high. Your love is all we ever need. Your love is all we ever need. Your love is deep, your love is wide. Your love is great, your love is high. Your love is all we ever need. Your love is all we ever need. Your love is deeper than any ocean, higher than the heavens reaches, beyond the stars in the sky. Jesus, your love has no bounds. 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 God, we love you so much, Lord. We thank you for this time as we get into your word and we learn about you, God, and we talk just fellowshipping with one another, Lord. And I pray as always, Lord, you always do, but I pray it every time. You'd speak through Daniel, Lord, you'd speak through him, and you'd open our ears and our hearts to hearing what you have to say, God. Prepare our hearts right now, Lord. We give this time to you completely. In Jesus' name, amen.
Alrighty. Tonight, we're going to be talking about atheism.
Wait,
Sorry, didn't mean to fast forward. Alright. Tonight, we're going to be talking about atheism. Cool. This is completing a trifecta. I don't know if you noticed the theme. 2 weeks ago, we did cavemen as our topic. Last week, we talked about evolution. And while this has all been going on Fridays, we've been doing our Dinos, Dragons, and Donuts. If your phone isn't in the bucket, now's the time to get it in there. And so tonight we're going to be talking about atheism, and then we still have 2 more weeks of Dinos, Dragons, and Donuts. Week 3 is this Friday, so if you've been missing out on it, check out the live streams that are on my YouTube channel. You can catch yourself up, watch the video we watched, and then see what the discussion's been like. Week 2 was amazing. Week 1 was my favorite, just because everyone was so stinking full of questions. It was fantastic. As we talk about atheism tonight, what we're going to try and do is go quick enough to cover this from 2 different angles. The first angle we're going to cover atheism from is the angle of, is this realistically, logically, scientifically, is this something worth making your life based on? Is this a good idea? Is this helpful? Is it useful? Is it smart? And then the second angle I want to take on is, how do we then talk to people who say, oh yeah, I'm an atheist? What is our demeanor? What's our mannerism? What's our speech going to be like? How are we going to talk to them? Because I don't want to do it the wrong way. If I decide in my head, if I decide in my heart that something is wrong, that doesn't mean that there is now only one way I can treat it. There's a lot of ways to treat something that you've decided is wrong. And so if you can look at atheism from the way that God looks at it, if you look at atheism, I know that sounds a little weird. Think about that for a second. How do you think God feels about atheism? I've never really thought about that before.
Burn it.
I think it makes him sad.
Can you imagine if I started a worldview whose only premise was you didn't exist? That'd be a little weird, wouldn't it? Like, we refuse to talk to you, we refuse to acknowledge that you are here in the room with us, and we'll actually get into debates about whether or not you exist. How would that feel to you?
Annoying.
You'd be a little annoyed, wouldn't you?
Just wouldn't want
What if you were at the debate, watching the two people on stage argue back and forth about whether or not you exist?
But what if they both think that he doesn't exist? Probably.
That's totally besides the point, because an atheist wouldn't think that's a valid argument in the conversation, a valid point, because, you know, obviously that person doesn't exist, so they can't be at the debate. They can't have feelings. It's weird, right? All right, so what is atheism? If you guys aren't familiar with it, I know this all sounds a little weird. Atheism is essentially the belief that there is no God, no such thing as God. Now, I pulled this from atheists.org. Go there, check it out. It's a little bit sad, a little bit funny, and a little bit sobering. And you kind of go through like the stages of grief as you read through the website. At first, you're in denial, and you're going, this is too much. No, this can't really exist. Guys, they're a nonprofit organization that raises funds to try and make sure that atheists throughout the entire country have their rights and beliefs respected. And so really, we have to come to grips with the fact that this is not a joke. It's not something to laugh at. It's not something to take lightly as people who do believe in God. Because one of the things that's on their website is sobering. I'll get to that. That's actually slide 3. So first, slide 2, let's zoom in here. This is the paragraph that really struck me as, do they believe what they're actually saying? I don't know if you can type this paragraph and honestly believe what it says as you say it. Despite the fact that atheism is not a religion, atheism is protected by many of the same constitutional rights that protect religion. That, however, does not mean that atheism is itself a religion. Only that our sincerely held lack of beliefs are protected in the same way as the religious beliefs of others. Similarly, many interfaith groups will include atheists. This, again, does not mean that atheism is a religious belief. Have you ever had to state something 3 times if you actually believed it, in the course of just stating that you believe it? That seems weird. That sounds like me going to my mom when I was 5 and trying to explain to her that I did not break the thing in the house that's broken. If I didn't break the thing that was broken, I wouldn't care so much. But if I did break the thing that's broken, I'm going to be really sure she understands I did not break the thing. No, I didn't break the thing. No, I didn't break it. No, I wasn't even near the thing when it broke. How do you know when it broke? I don't know when it... So you go over a little overboard when you're touchy on something, when something is striking a nerve. And so it's so strange. Look at this paragraph. How many times they say that it's not a religion?
Like 7.
This is only like 3, but whatever. 7. The other thing, too, is that they're claiming that atheism is a lack of belief. A lack of belief. Now, this is the question you have to answer if you're going to continue along this road with me. Is a lack of belief different from a belief?
It's the same thing.
This is semantics, ladies and gentlemen. It's semantics. Okay, so if I don't believe that monsters are going to come through that door and eat us all,
that's what you believe.
Is that different than believing they won't?
No. You believe both.
If I don't believe that monsters will come through the door, is that different than believing they won't come through the door?
It's just a different way of saying it.
What atheists are trying to do is say, and again, this isn't all atheists, this is the people who organize and decide we're going to try and push atheism out into the world. So again, that's not all atheists, just some of them. What they're trying to do is say that not believing in something is different from believing in something. And honestly, it's not when you get right down to it. Me believing that monsters are not going to come through the door is the same as me not believing that monsters are going to come through the door. And the reason they're the same thing is because I stated it. Now, there's a lot of things I don't believe in that I don't think about. and that is actually different. There's tons of things I don't believe in that I never give any thought to. And until I mentioned monsters coming through that door, that was one of them for all of you guys. But now that I've mentioned monsters coming through that door, you can't unthink the thought. You all either now believe that they will or that they won't.
They won't.
But you don't have the option anymore of not having a belief. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As soon as I mentioned it, you now have an opinion. You now have a belief. So the question is, can you be an atheist and know it? If the definition is to not have a belief in God.
That's a belief.
This is the problem. As soon as I know what atheism is, I know that there being a God is an option, so no longer can I not have a belief. I now have a belief that there isn't a God. It's not that I don't believe that there's a God, it's that I believe there isn't a God.
There's not.
As soon as you knew that God was an option, boom, you instantly lost the ability to be not believing.
We know.
Now, this is the problem. I want to say lost the ability to be an atheist, but that's based on their definition of atheist. I don't like their definition of atheist because it's new. It's brand new. This is actually now called new atheism, and it's only about 15, 20 years old. New atheism. And it's essentially treating atheism more like a religion than ever before, and at the same time screaming that it is not a religion. And I do mean that literally. There was once a theistic author, and she writes Facebook things and blog articles and goes on television stations, and she is the most polite, friendly person, and she gets into very friendly debates with atheists. I mean, they're just polite to each other. It's adorable to watch. And at one point on a TV show, she mentioned that atheism now, this new atheism, is becoming a religion. And the moment she mentioned that, the entire internet lost its mind. And she got so much hate mail through her Twitter feed, so much hate mail through Facebook, so much hate directed at her for just suggesting that it's a religion. But honestly, that's one person's opinion. Why does someone need to hate you over that? Well, because they're guarding something. And if it's not a religion, I don't know what they're guarding. And that's kind of the point. If it's not a religion, it doesn't really make sense to guard it this fervently, this actively. And so now this new atheism that's coming up in these last 2 decades, it has some serious weight to it. And it really shouldn't get ignored. This is a graph from that same website, atheists.org. And essentially they're trying to raise money to pull people away from religions, and at the same time saying it's already happening, and it's been happening since 1996. That's their earlier year, or is that 86? I think that's 86. Yeah, 1986. So this was happening before the organization existed, but they're trying to raise money to pull more people out of religions. That doesn't make sense to me at all. But the point is, it's succeeding whether it makes sense or not. It's succeeding whether we like it or not. It's succeeding whether we give money to it or not. Atheism is yanking people away from religion. And this isn't just Christianity. This is every religion is losing people to atheism. So we have to kind of ask a question as people who are thinkers. Is atheism a religion, or is it something else? Is it what it claims to be? Is it a non-religion? But here's the thing. It's a system of belief about religious things, religious questions. The question is, does God exist? If you answer the question, you're answering a religious question. So if you answer the question, does God exist, doesn't God exist, you have a religious opinion. You can't have a scientific opinion about does God exist. You can have a philosophical opinion about does God exist. But to have a scientific opinion, you'd have to be able to do a science test to figure it out. What's the test to figure out if God exists? What's the scientific, criteria for God? What equates to God in a scientific realm? There is nothing that can answer these questions because that doesn't work. You can't put God into a scientific box. And so for an atheist to say, no, we're belief system of science, of reason, of logic, that sounds great, but it can't actually be true. If the only tenet you actually have is God does not exist, then the only tenet has to do with something religious. So this really is a religious issue. So they don't want to be called a religion because then they would stop automatically gaining anyone who's been harmed by every other religion. This is the sad truth. When you look at those figures like, atheism is on the rise, what the real truth behind that is that people aren't leaving religion by and large because they just woke up one day and thought, whoa, I don't think there's a God anymore. That's not really why most people walk away from religion. Most people walk away from religion because someone else in their religion did something horrible to them.
made them angry, made them upset. Or lots of people inside their religion did something horrible to them, made them angry, made them upset, made them hurt. And so they leave because they don't like the people. It's not usually a brain thing of, I made the decision. It's usually a heart thing of, I can't take it anymore. And the truth is, there's a lot of evil people in this world in every religion. Christianity still has fakers and evil people within it. We're not like the world's only religion that's a bunch of perfect people. It's quite the opposite. There's a lot of really broken people in Christianity, and we can hurt people sometimes. And so Christianity is losing people to atheism. All right, so, but they like to say we're a non-religion, and so now atheism gets to be taught in schools because it's not a religion. If atheism was called a religion, then you couldn't stick it in a school. You couldn't teach it in a school. You couldn't base other things in school off of atheism. And the other odd thing about atheism is that now it's gained the ability to become the foundation for political correctness. So if you want to say something in the public eye, you want to be a politician and you want to say something publicly, or you want to be on a TV show and you want to say something publicly, or you want to, run a popular website and say something publicly. If you don't make your statement atheistic, lacking any religious things, lacking anything about God, then you're not politically correct. You are now a skewed viewpoint. You're for one little section of the society to read, watch, be heard. Don't let everyone hear that person. Don't let everyone read that person because, no, they're only for these people. And this is against the core of what America was when our country started. The whole point was everybody can be heard. Everybody can have their say. And so I'm not suggesting atheists should stop getting the chance to say stuff. What I'm suggesting is to take a school system, to take the media and say, yeah, all religions have to leave. Only this one that says it isn't a religion can stay. That's poisonous. We've seen that happen in many countries throughout history, and it doesn't matter if it was atheism or some other religion. As soon as you say you're not allowed, you must be a certain way, it starts causing issues. Because whether or not the thing started as good, you're forcing people. This has actually happened in Christian history. When Christianity got so popular that it started to be forced onto people, it wasn't a good thing. It was not a good thing. And this has not just happened once. This has happened many times, not just for Christianity, but for many other religions too. As soon as you take any system of belief and say you have to believe it, well then most of the people who are now part of the group, they don't actually believe any of it. What you're doing is you're sowing the seeds of war at that point. Because you're forcing people to say they believe something that they might not actually believe. And this is what we're doing now with atheism. We're basically saying this is what everyone needs to believe, and if you believe something else, then that's kind of weird. That's the direction we're going in, and that's dangerous. It's not a good place to be. So it's not just a religion, but it's a religion that has taken over other countries. This is the thing, and I don't want to sound like a nut job, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but if you look through history and try and find the countries where atheism got a foothold and atheism then took over, and every other religion was kicked out and it was just atheism in a country, we can look at those examples and kind of see, what would happen if that ever completed its course in America. Right now, it's not complete. Right now, there's plenty of religions that are still completely free to exercise and be believed in and followed in America. Tons of religions. But what would happen if, theoretically, atheism got to that point where it was the only thing? Yeah.
We might have another civil war between religions.
We may have a civil war between people who believe in different religions, totally. You can also see what it does in other countries, though. That's what I'm getting at, is trying to look into history. And yes, in some cases it creates civil war. In other cases, though, it creates a communistic system where, and it's not just communism, but the government has 100% of the power, the people lose all power, and eventually the people start being killed and treated like things, not humans. They become less than human. That's usually the common thread in all the situations we've seen where atheism gets to the top and everything else gets washed aside. Humanity is discarded. And that's really sad because it's caused some of the worst atrocities on the planet. It's terrible. Now, again, this is all one angle of looking at atheism. Is this something worth pursuing? this is not necessarily what I would say to someone on a personal level when I find out they're an atheist. I'm not going to start talking to them about atrocities from history, because guess what? They weren't there. That's not their fault. They're not part of a group where they actually are making decisions and choices pushing us towards that precipice. They're just a person. So this is all for your trivial educational purposes, so you can see atheism for what it can do. I don't necessarily tell you all this so that you can now go out and bash some atheists with this information. That's not the point. One more quick test as we look at as we look at atheism. Is it actually logical? Because this is kind of what it gets by on. This is why it's trumped all these other religions and kind of replaced them in the school system. Because it's claiming that it's logical, it's reason-based, it's philosophically agnostic, it doesn't have any leanings in any direction, and that it's good. That it's good. That's a scary thought to me, but this is what it really has inside of it. It has no basis for morality. Does anyone know what a basis is? Think like foundation. Yeah, think foundation. So what is morality though? Does anyone want to give us like their take on what is morality? Yeah?
Like what you can do and what you can't. Like
okay.
The Bible kind of like tells you like what's wrong to do.
Yeah.
Not just what you can and can't do.
Okay.
But what's wrong and what's right.
There
And
you
they
go.
don't seem to have any like rule book or anything, any guidelines.
Okay. So this is the real issue here. Inside of atheism, the idea of right and wrong comes out of nowhere. It poofs out of nothing. And the idea is essentially that in an atheistic worldview, they subscribe largely to materialism. There's other niche little areas of atheism, but the major one is materialism, which means everything is just matter. It's all just atoms. And so you are a pile of atoms, I'm a pile of atoms, that coffee table is a pile of atoms. It's all just stuff. And I don't really have any free will. I just move along from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now. And whatever I'm going to do next is based on everything that I did before and whatever happened to me before. The whole world is based on whatever happened before. And so I don't really have a choice in what I do. I'm just a little atom-built machine. I'm just a bunch of little molecules that are going to do what I was going to do. It's not really my fault if I do something that hurts you. That's just what I was going to do. And this is part of the construct of atheism, is that there isn't really a guiding force other than automatic cause and effect. Just reaction and action over and over and over again for billions of years, and then eventually I punch you in the face. And it's not really my fault. It's not really your fault. My hand was just going to punch you in the face. That was always the way it was going to be. So the question is me punching you in the face wrong?
No.
So remember, in an atheistic worldview, in this construct, me punching you in the face, what makes it wrong?
Well,
It hurts.
yeah, it hurts.
Okay, but those are just his nerve endings firing off signals. That's not inherently evil. That's just nerve endings.
It's just his body.
That's
doing
just
its
stuff
job.
doing stuff. That's not evil.
It's blood spilling out of his face.
Yeah, but, I mean, that was always going to happen since the beginning of the universe. It was guaranteed that eventually that was going to occur.
A nosebleed.
Yeah, essentially. It was just going to happen. The idea is that people think, if atheism is true, then whatever I want is good, whatever you want is good, and if I and you want different things, whatever. So what? The problem becomes when they start to say, well, we still need laws. Why?
We do need
Well, because we wouldn't get anywhere. Well, who cares?
We'll have to stay in a straight line, not go all over the place.
But that's kind of the point. Who cares?
Everybody, because they don't want fires everywhere, they don't want burglaries, and they don't want...
Why not?
Because that's
Bound to happen.
wrong.
It's wrong, but says who?
The government.
The government's just people all teamed up. And those people have their opinions, and I have my opinion.
The
Maybe I
mayor.
want to watch the
That's
world
not,
burn.
That's still government.
The president. There you
the,
go.
the president.
Government.
Yeah.
But the idea is just the notion that everyone would elect one person and that person be in charge is completely erroneous to morality, because morality doesn't really exist in an atheistic worldview.
Does it? Oh, never mind.
It's all just opinion, but it's someone else's opinion, and their opinions don't matter. Only my opinion matters. because I'm me. Yeah, Jeremiah's been aching to share something.
If we're all piles of atoms, isn't that religious because Adam is from the Bible?
Oh, don't wordplay on this.
Spelled different.
Thank you. Obviously, it's spelled different. If you guys know the words, he's just making a joke. All right, so problem one, there's no basis for morality. It comes out of nowhere. It has no meaning. Your morality is different than mine, but who cares? Because it doesn't mean anything. There's no attempt at meaning. That's the other problem, is that life does not have a purpose. It doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have a reason. Life is a fluke. It's an accident. The universe could have gone on for trillions of years before we existed. It'll probably go on for trillions of years after we exist, says the atheist. And who cares? We won't amount to anything.
Wait, the Earth is going to...
The universe, the Earth might burn up. The sun will just engulf it. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. We're all just atoms. The stars are atoms. If they burn us to a crisp, is that really anything evil? It's just atoms taking up more atoms. What's the big deal? There's no purpose to this life. You're going to live, you're going to die, and it's all over.
Oh, yeah.
Once you're dead, you won't care.
We live to die.
True, but you won't
we live to
you won't be
know
alive
Jesus.
to even think.
Exactly, you're not allowed to think. You don't exist anymore. There's no soul. You're just all gone.
Eventually, in like
Well, at least your dead body's still there.
in like
Yes.
65
What
minutes.
happens when you die then?
Until it's not.
You
Until it
cease.
rocks.
All you are is a pile of atoms that can think. And so then you would just die and stop being able to think, so you're just a pile of atoms once more.
Well, you'll be a pile of bones. for a while.
But they're made out of atoms. You get where I'm going with this. Eventually it'll turn to dirt, but it'll still be atoms.
Wait, what are atoms that made out of?
Atoms are made out of protons, neutrons, electrons. Those are
Got
made
it,
out of like
What are
mesons.
those
and-
made out of?
Ooh.
Mesons and quarks and
And
all
what
those
are those
other-
made out of?
Actually, some of those they say don't have subpieces, but that's debatable.
Then
Yes.
How are they made?
So
Don't know. We're still doing research.
piles of atoms.
Okay.
When we die,
Yeah.
what happens to the neurons?
What happens to the
I
what?
know.
The neurons.
The
Like,
neurons? They just turn into dirt.
Daniel.
And so we just
Will become part of the earth, which will eventually burn up into a crisp anyways. Or freeze to ice. Who knows?
Take a picture of him while he was asleep.
Model at heart.
Just be nice.
leave him alone.
Be nice.
So loud.
Leave him alone.
Jaden, leave him.
He's obviously
We already
tired.
have the picture.
All right.
working really hard.
So problem 3,
I don't
and
know
this
how he
I
had that
think is
position.
kind of obvious from the first two.
Model at heart.
There's no real provision for hope inside of atheism. If life is horrible, then life is horrible. If life is good, that's probably only for a season. And you're all going to die eventually anyways.
Does
Well,
that mean
yeah.
we can just start killing each other?
Well, and that's the issue. In an atheistic worldview, there isn't a good reason not to.
Because you're already gonna die at some point.
You're just speeding up eventuality at that point.
You just
Yes.
go to jail.
Doesn't my happiness really mean nothing because it's just my
Oh, it means everything to you. That's all you have.
Right, but in context, like it means nothing.
In
because
context, it means nothing to
only-
anyone else.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
It's truly the opposite of the life that God wants us to live, where you're living
Really
for
is.
self-pleasure
Yeah.
instead of serving others and for God. You're
And
the opposite of a
Truth
servant.
be told, those who have gone before us and pursued self-pleasure to its fullest extent tell us that when they get there, they realize that they gained nothing on the journey and they ended up nowhere when they got to the end.
Exactly.
So all it was a journey downward that felt like it was upward.
Exactly.
So you were going down, 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 down,
Very
thought you were going up,
disorienting.
up, 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 and when you were done, you were at the bottom and you didn't know how to get back out.
Very disorienting.
All right. So yes, Natalie.
If your feelings are the basis for whether something's good or bad, or like the basis for everything you do, then you're always going to be confused because feelings have no foundation. Feelings change all the time, and I feel like also atheism relies so much on like you said before, is it bad because when he punches him it hurts him, or is something good because it's pleasurable to the person? Like is
Yeah.
everything going to be based upon sensation and feeling? Because none of that is foundational. Everything changes.
So that's a branch of atheism, but it's one of the larger ones, which is humanism. It basically puts humanity as this higher thing, and in the purest sense, atheism doesn't. But that's not fun. So humanistic atheism is the primary vein because it's more fun. You get to just do whatever you want, and that therefore is good. But that doesn't really fulfill, we find out from experience. It looks good on paper. Just go have fun.
It seems to
Isn't
have
humanism-
selling points to be just, as long as you're not hurting anybody,
As long as you're not hurting anybody.
you're always the one who's your first.
You are hurting yourself and you are hurting other people. You just don't notice it yet.
Is less important.
That's all it is. It's just denial. Big fat denial. Alright, so there's also great risk involved in atheism, because if you are wrong in the core tenet of atheism, there is no God. If you are wrong and you die, what is the consequence?
Automatic.
Okay, now think about this for a second. Let's say we reverse the tables on this. Is there a basis for morality in Christianity?
Yes.
God said, my opinion is it. His opinion is it. If you don't align with his opinion, it's wrong. And this works because he is perfect. If he could do things wrong, that's a terrible idea.
Well,
If he could have a wrong thought, that's a terrible idea. If he could just do things to mess with you, that's a terrible idea. But because he's perfect, saying that morality is his opinion, it works. It works. What about Christianity and meaning? Is there meaning to life inside of Christianity? Yeah.
Solve people, solve Jesus, and try and like minister and get more people to be with Jesus so they don't have to go to hell.
Boom. Okay. You outlined it so crisp, so clear. I like it. Is there hope in Christianity? Can we just get an absolutely, like, a yes? Yeah! Not only for eternity, not only the ultimate hope, but just in this life, when we get down, we get to look forward to that. It gives us hope here. It gives us hope now. We know that whenever we go through something tough, we're not going through it alone. No matter if every other human friend, no matter every other family member leaves us, we still have God with us in every single situation. That is an unshakable hope. And then, this is where it gets interesting. What if we're wrong? What if all of Christianity is wrong? It's completely made up. God doesn't even exist. There is no heaven. There is no hell. And you die. What did you lose out on for being a Christian throughout your life?
Nothing except heaven.
You lived a life where you had moral compass, so you weren't confused. You had a meaning throughout your entire life, so you never felt lost. And you had hope, and so depression did not overtake you. That was your life.
But you don't get to go to heaven.
Well, sure. But then if we're wrong, think about this. Neither does anyone else.
Yeah.
The flip side is, our life here was better. So this is the shakeout. Even if you are an atheist because of logical reasons, you should honestly give serious thought to, I'm living the worst possible life, and Christianity would give me a better life, even if the entire thing was a hoax. The life here would still be infinitely better as a Christian than it would as an atheist. Now, not every atheist will agree with me on that. A lot of atheists started out in some religion, saw the worst sides of it, got hurt by people, and left. But lifelong atheists, at the end of their life, generally do agree with what I just said. They do agree with the fact that atheism gives you a hollow existence. So usually the people that would fight this are the ones who are still coming down from their anger. They're still coming down from the resentment of what they experienced. And the people who agree with me are on the far side of it. There are a lot of atheistic philosophers who are now saying Christianity is better for the world than atheism is, even though I believe Christianity is false. That's really interesting to think about. Yeah, Sam.
Well, before all this atheist blew up, apparently in the world, every 43.7 seconds, someone committed suicide.
Wow.
I'm sure that number would be much higher if atheism...
I don't have suicide stats, but we're going to go to the end of the slideshow here in a bit, and I'll show you. I've got a few different graphs of what changed since 1962. Does anybody know what happened in 1962?
My dad was born.
Oh, cool. Anybody else?
My
Not your dad. I meant, like, does anybody else know what happened in 1962?
My grandpa.
Yeah.
It was a year after 1961.
That is correct. And it was also the year when prayer was outlawed in American schools.
What?
But before 1962, prayer was a part of most school days in the public school system.
Well, yeah, because you only have like a little
Pledge of Allegiance got taken out.
Oh, no. You're talking way long ago. No. The 40s, 50s, 60s, perfectly normal to have public schools all over the country, in every state, in every city, and prayer in them. Well, you're talking about a little schoolhouse built into a church.
If
That's
the
like
kids
over
in
100
the
years ago.
School were Christians, why would they pray?
Say that one more time.
If the kids in the school weren't Christians, why would they pray?
You're assuming they
Because
weren't Christians.
Christian kids go to public school too.
I know that, but like.
It was a choice to
And
pray.
this is the point, Alex. Most of those kids were being raised as Christians.
So it was like a Christian school.
Country.
No,
The word is
public
country.
school.
Country.
It was like a Christian country.
Oh, got it.
Yes.
So on the one on number 3 where it says no provision of hope.
Wait, what? You're mumbling.
On the one that says number 3, no provision of hope.
When you were talking about like how if you were a Christian, even if it was a hoax, you would still have a better life. What I think about it is, since it's not a hoax, I think it's way better because like let's say you were a Christian, but your life was just full of misery. I think it's way better to have a life full of misery and then die and then go to heaven and have an eternity of happiness than have a life full of happiness and then have an eternity of misery.
Absolutely.
Amen, brother.
Absolutely.
And then also,
Absolutely true.
I had to make this joke. There's another religion that has absolute hope. It's called Scientology. And also through all this conversation, I've changed my religion. Scientology is the true religion. Christianity is not true whatsoever at all.
Do you know what Scientology is?
No.
Do you know that
I saw a movie called My Scientology movie on Amazon.
Why did I know that was going to be the answer?
I know Scientology.
Alright, in case anyone's wondering, Scientology,
You do know that.
it's a funny
Yeah,
read.
I'm gonna sleep with
Go
my
look it up on
Scientology
Wikipedia with your
instead of
parents.
church.
You can.
It's not a religion based on science. I'll just say that.
I
Scientology
saw a
has
movie
probably
on Amazon.
less to do with science than any other religion I can think of.
Hey,
It has more to do with
And
the
it's
pocketbook.
named after science?
Scientology, you get to the top in the religion by giving money to them.
Uh-huh.
And so, some of the top
Can I be a
people, and I have to
priest?
put that in air quotes, some of the top people in the religion are famous rich people because they're rich people. Nothing else.
I became a billionaire in
And
2
when they
years.
stop
How do you
giving
become one of
to
those
the
absolute
organization,
They lose their rank.
I
Yeah,
know where you
yeah.
started.
Alright, can we not go down Scientology's road?
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. I know we could. There's a lot to laugh at there. It's a terrible religion,
It's
makes
horrible.
no sense.
That's making
Horrible.
Christian
There's a
science.
Alright,
movie on Amazon.
so the point of
Oh,
this
wow.
is,
Oh boy.
atheism fails to actually be useful if your goal in this life is to actually get some truth. Because you're not going to have a good life, and you're not actually going to be finding real truth in this religion, in atheism. It's not going to get you that. So a lot of people ask this question, and college students can back me up on this. If you ever take a philosophy class in college, or like a world religions class in college, probably more philosophy, but sure. This question will get thrown around, and a lot of times it doesn't get answered. It gets asked, and then the teacher basically tells you that the answer is no. Not always. It totally depends on the teacher you have. Totally depends on what school you're at. But they'll sometimes give you an answer that's a terrible answer to the question, and then tell you that it's a terrible answer, and it leaves you feeling like, wait, so there's no answer? There's no evidence for God? Are you serious?
Wait.
We're not talking necessarily a scientific piece of evidence because we're now in the realm of philosophy. This is more about how you think, how you look at the universe, how you look at life and reality. But the answer is yes. There is evidence for God. And so this is really troubling to atheism because if there's evidence for God, then atheism is going to have an answer that refutes that evidence, that tells you that that evidence is bogus. Or else, why do they still exist? Why is atheism still around? Basically denial, but we'll go through it. So, basic question of existence. Why do we have something rather than nothing at all? Why does everything exist? That's the big question.
Because
of
God
philosophy.
created it.
Well, okay, you can answer it your way, but what we're talking about here is something that's testable or at least a logical progression. Now, you got to that answer, and that's a great answer. But if you can't take a logical chain all the way back to things that can only be answered one way, the philosopher would say that's blind faith.
Oh my gosh.
Blind. Blind because I don't have a reason to say so. If you have a reason to say so, then it's not blind. Okay, so here's your 4 possible answers for why there isn't nothing. Why is there something? Okay, so option number 1, reality isn't just an illusion.
How can
It doesn't actually exist. And there's many subcategories and options within that one, like everything only exists in your mind. Your mind is the only thing in the entire universe. There's
Well,
nothing.
other people see things differently.
Oh, no, there are no other people. They're all figments of your imagination. I don't exist either.
Yeah, you do.
No, those are all different ideas that really exist. People really think this way, some of them. Other people think that all of our minds exist and we're all just seeing each other through thought.
That means we're just floating brains. What?
Yes, and the entire universe exists because we wanted it to.
That'd be creepy. We're
So-
floating
But
brains.
we all had the
Yes.
same
Wait, so I'm
one.
God?
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say,
That means I can fly.
you guys can already tell that that's bogus.
Far
So wait,
out there.
yeah.
I'm gonna go jump off
Yes.
a building.
Yes, it is.
The nuclear appearance is corner.
Right? I think you guys
Obviously. All right. Option 2, reality is or was self-created. Reality made reality. Universe made universe.
We were
Okay?
formed on
This is option
something
number
that
2.
formed on
I'm
something.
not saying these are good answers. I'm just saying it's all we got. Okay?
Daniel.
Option 3, reality is self-existent, meaning not self-created. Okay? Self-created means the beginning of itself was started by itself. That is a logical impossibility. So option 2 is next. Option 3 is that reality, aka the universe, is in and of itself eternal. Now this is actually a popular theory within the realm of naturalism and what's the thing where everything just keeps going the way it always has been going?
Life.
Oh,
Depression.
Dang it. It's the big long word I always use when we're talking about evolution. I said it like 3 times last week.
Evolution.
Uniformitarianism, thank
That's a
you.
big word.
In uniformitarianism, they basically ascribe to the belief that pre-Big Bang was a universe that collapsed into the singularity which created the Big Bang. And so the universe is constantly just doing this.
You said, but they said
Creation,
that there was
recreation,
nothing
recreation,
before the Big Bang.
recreation,
Oh, so
creation,
we're like a
recreations.
musical instrument.
And so the universe is eternal, it just keeps on happening over and over
wait,
again.
what created the first universe?
Please don't ask that question. They hate that question.
Ooh.
It's because they know
But
that
I
they
hate
won't.
that question because we have the same question when someone says, well, what created God? Same answer. I say, well, he's eternal, he has no creator. They say, universe is eternal, it has no creator. Okay, so if we get to use that answer, they get to use that answer. So don't think you got them just yet. All right, fourth option, reality was created by something else that is self-existent or eternal. Now, these are the only 2 that pass the first test of, can you even say it without laughing? The first 2, not really. But there's a problem with number 3. Number 3 has this issue of cause and effect. Usually effects look like causes. If I kick you, there'll be a print of my shoe on your butt. Okay? Cause, effect. You'll see something of the cause in the effect. When the wave hits the seashore, you don't get perfect little triangle shapes in the sand because the wave didn't have perfect little triangle shapes, okay? You get the sand aware in these nice big arcing lines in the sand because that's the way the wave was shaped. So you see a bit of the cause when you look at the effect. So the question is, could an impersonal, purposeless, meaningless, and amoral, meaning has no morals, universe accidentally create humans who are full of personality, obsessed with purpose, meaning, and morals? It doesn't really make a lot of logical sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, but of the logical kind most of all. And so this is kind of a problem for number 3. The eternity thing isn't the big issue because we're looking at God as if he's eternal. They're looking at the universe as if it's eternal. They're basically calling the universe a pile of atoms God. We're calling something outside the universe, something we can't fully explain, but we can begin to explain, God. They just don't want to name their universe God. That would be troubling. But if you watch modern television, people say that all the time now. They say the universe must have willed it, or the universe was kind to me, or hey, the universe smiled on me. They say that kind of stuff all the time, just like it is God. They really do look up to it like it's God. So put the logical arguments into a nice little series, and you get this. Something exists. You don't get something from nothing. Therefore, a necessary and eternal something does exist. So something is eternal. The only 2 options are eternal universe or eternal creator. Science and philosophy have disproven the concept of an eternal universe. Therefore, there must be an eternal creator. Now, Christianity is not the only religion that has an eternal creator. But there are certain things you can find out about the eternal creator of the universe by looking at, guess.
Guess.
What would you look at?
The Bible.
The universe. Just look at the universe and you're going to notice some things that must be true of its creator. He's got to be supernatural because, hey, look at that. He created time and space.
Wait, what's supernatural then?
Vampire.
Beyond the realm of physics. So like in Marvel and DC Comics, how there are people who can just without explanation shoot laser beams out of their eyeballs. Eyeballs can't make laser
Superman.
beams. So you have something that is supernatural going on. Same idea with God. He can create time and space, so he's got to be beyond time and space.
Oh.
Okay, so he's supernatural.
God.
He's got to be exceedingly powerful. Duh. He's got to be eternal. That was the whole crux of the logical series. He's got to be omnipresent. Otherwise, he would never get from one side of the universe to the other side of the universe. He'd be stuck within time and space. So he's got to be outside of it. So he's omnipresent. He's got to be timeless and changeless because he created time. He would be beyond that time. He may have another time of his own, of a different sort. But if he created our time, he has to be outside of our time. He's got to be immaterial because he transcends space and physical dimensions. He's got to be personal because he created personality. If this was just, you know, the random flying gas cloud that decided to create a universe and has no emotions, has no personality, why would he create so many different flavors of personality? Billions and billions of people throughout history. Why would he do that? There's no reason for it. He would have to be a personal style creator. He'd have to be infinite and yet singular because you can't have two infinities. Those would contradict each other. If God existed in a universe, in a infinite reality, where he was not the only infinite being, he wouldn't actually be infinite. He would be meeting his match on a regular basis with that, even if it was only one other person who was at the same level with him. So there can only be one of him, or else our universe would constantly be in a crazy state of flux as they fought over control. He would have to be diverse and yet have unity, because that's exactly how nature is. Nature has this crazy amount of diversity, and yet a walnut tree over here is a walnut tree over there. A human over here has the same kind of DNA as a human over there. So there's this diversity and there's this unity within the creation. We see stars all over the universe, and yet there's only a few different kinds. So you have diversity, and yet you have this unity. He would have to be supremely intelligent, because he didn't just create ridiculous amounts of awesome things to look at, but that stuff actually works. Your brain actually works. You're not just born and 1% of babies can think. Honestly, that's what I would expect if our God was random, or if our God was stupid, or if God didn't exist. I'd expect every so often you get a baby that works. And most babies don't. They come out and they're just pile of dust. They just fall apart. Ah! They just sneeze and scatter into a billion atoms.
New baby.
That's what you would expect, but most of the stuff on
Not the right
this
one.
Earth, in this universe, it actually works. He deliberately created all this stuff, so he has to have a purpose in mind. Otherwise, what's the point? Maybe just try a few billion different universes for a few seconds each. Have fun with it. He must be moral because he put a moral law within us, and morality doesn't come from nowhere. Philosophy basically backs that up. And he's got to be caring, or else he wouldn't have given the moral law to us. The moral law would be this existential extra thing you might have to go on a quest to discover. But he's caring enough to stick the moral law inside of every single human. That's a big deal. This is all from the universe. You can get this. This is not from the Bible. This is not from religion. This is not from any sort of belief system. This is just looking at the universe and making logical assumptions based on what we can see, what we can observe, what we can know. And then you have to ask the question, is there any religion on the entire planet that's ever had a God like all of these things? And that's a long list. I mean, you guys were sitting there getting bored, right? It's a long list!
Wait, how many slides are there?
There's a lot more slides. Why?
I have all the time in the world.
Commercial break.
I'm a glutton for punishment. All right, so inside of the Bible, actually, you have all of those traits and characteristics. The Bible has a lot more than that, but these are the matches to those things that you see in the universe, the things you see around us in creation, the things we see in us, the way we are made, the way humanity has been for its entire existence. We have been made in the image of God, and these are the things we see in that God, and it just so happens to be a perfect match for the God of the Bible. That's really cool if you realize that a lot of the assumptions you can gain from the universe could not have been assumed that far back in history. Because a lot of the things we know about the universe we only learned just recently. And so a lot of these assumptions weren't there when the book was written. And so the Bible, in essence, predicted that the God of the universe, the creator of the universe, would have had to be this way. It's pretty cool. That's actually science. Hypothesis, experimentation, and then a result. The hypothesis, here's what God is like. So says the Bible. Experimentation, we look out in the universe, and it turns out that's what the creator has to be like. And then that's your result. The God of the Bible matches the God of the universe. Because they're one and the same. They're one and the same. Yeah.
You had a question.
Okay, yeah.
Did you know that there would be more slides if this was about Scientology?
Jaden.
Now,
Let's add some.
let
You
me
don't get
just
to make
say,
any jokes about
there would be
Scientology, so you go
even-
home and look it up.
These slides would be
No
even
more!
better if it was about naturalism.
All right, so one last problem with atheism. Atheism is basically a negative belief. It's the belief that something does not exist. Inside of philosophy, we actually have words for that, and essentially it boils down to this. You can't have negative beliefs that are provable. As humans, anyways, you can't have negative beliefs that are provable. So, for instance, if I said I believe there are red eagles, just that they exist, all I have to do is go find a red eagle, and boom, I can prove it. I'm right. Right? Just go find the red eagle, ta-da, I win. Now, if I say there are no red eagles, how do I prove there are no red eagles?
Go out, not find one.
Can I look everywhere?
Yes. No.
As a human? No!
Well, you
I
could.
can't look everywhere.
You could.
Not to mention the fact I could be looking everywhere and there could be a red eagle following me about 100 miles back.
This is what you can do. You can start as a baby.
And I never catch it. Because everywhere I go, he's always 100 miles behind me.
And going, ha ha!
There is no way for humans to actually prove something doesn't exist. Because we can't go into every corner of the universe. We can't get outside the universe. We can't even look everywhere on our own stinking planet. So, we haven't even explored all the oceans yet. Come on, guys. So for me to say, there is no infinite being outside of the universe, is a statement of the highest arrogance. Because what I'm saying is, I know something that cannot be known. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. All right. And it really does matter because we're not talking about just a belief system for this life. We're talking about your eternal destination. And so this really couldn't be any bigger of a deal. When you talk to someone and it comes out they're an atheist, please get it into your head as a Christian, you were just called to action. You were just called to action. Start praying for that person. Start finding out what pushed them there. What kind of atheists are they? Are they the staunch, I'm totally entrenched, I'm going to believe this till the day I die and I'll argue with you about it? Or are they a totally different kind of atheist? Are they the kind of atheist who's like, yeah, I'm an atheist because I haven't really tried any religions?
Well, I've never met one, so.
I was just saying, find out why.
Find out why.
Never.
You will meet atheists.
You will meet atheists. It is unavoidable. You cannot live in a bubble your entire life. It's impossible. I was homeschooled. I still have met atheists. It happens.
Hey, I'm homeschooled too, but I've never met one.
I'm older than you. That's all I meant. Give it time. All right. The point is,
How old were you when you met?
not only should you, or not only will you meet an atheist, Alex, you should. God doesn't want you to live in a bubble where you only meet Christians for the rest of your life.
I've met non-Christians,
He wants
but I don't
you to meet non-Christians of all sorts, and that includes atheists. He wants you to have an effect on these people. He wants you to share the love of God with them.
So I should tell them about God, but what happens if they choose? If they don't want
Okay,
to
you go to heaven. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but
I mean, like, really, what was your loss?
life, if it happens.
Good job.
My favorite verse is
Good job. You know what Paul
live
says
as
about that?
Christ, die
He
as
says,
gain.
oh, you took the words out of my mouth. But good job for knowing it. He says to live is Christ, meaning if I live longer, then I get to share Christ with more people. But if I die, it's personal gain. So if I live, it's gain for the kingdom. If I die, it's gain for me. That's really the point. If you live and you share with one atheist, then the kingdom gained one atheist who has been shared with. If you live and share with 1,000 atheists, then the kingdom gains 1,000 atheists you have shared with.
What, like, say if you have food there and then you're like teaching them about God. What happens if they're just for the food and then they don't even care about God?
Then you fed an atheist and you did. You shared the love of God with them.
Gosh, how would he do?
Think of it like this,
But
Alex.
what happens if they don't
Think
care?
of it like this,
What
Alex.
if it's
Think of it like this.
They don't care.
God does not ever say you are responsible for their soul. He never says if you don't convert them, you fail. Never says that. Okay? What God says is you work on his farm now. And if he says to water the plants, your job is to water the plants. If he says go pull weeds, your job is to go pull weeds.
I love it.
He never says it's your job to make sure fruit grows. Do you hear me on this?
Yes.
It's not your job to make fruit grow. God makes fruit grow. And so you're not going to go convert an atheist. You're going to go as a servant of God and do whatever he tells you to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they happen to start believing in God and you were a part of that, awesome! The blessing ends up being yours too. It's not like it's all just for God's kingdom. You share in the blessing. But there will be so many more times where you go and share your faith with someone and it seems like nothing happens. But you know what? Sometimes for someone to come to Christ, it takes you sharing your faith with them and him sharing his faith with him and me sharing my faith with him and like 500 other Christians, and then eventually something happens.
Hopefully you make sure that they.
But if God knows it takes 30 people and he asks you to share with them, you could be number 30, you could be number 15. You don't know where you are in that conga line of Christians helping someone. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You don't know if you're the last guy who's going to share with them, the first guy, or somewhere in the middle. You have no clue about that.
Well, I'm not the first because first already happened. So.
You don't know that though.
Yes.
Always take the chance.
Because Jesus
All
was
right,
the first person.
Sean.
You may not have to say any words either.
You may not. You may just get to be a Christian in their presence. And when they find out you're a Christian, that's going to mean something.
Why do you stare at me the whole time?
Just be loving. Be kind. Be compassionate.
So we're like,
Look out for their best interests.
Love them. Put them first, not you. That's love.
don't say anything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is it a joke about Scientology?
No.
It's not a joke.
Is it a joke?
No. Maybe
Good.
I do not talk to atheists because then the atheism will get in my pores and I will evolve from a naturalist to a Scientologist.
Jaden!
Jaden, you are grounded from raising your hand.
What? You're speaking the truth.
We're going to go ahead and fast forward because we're out of
That's
time.
not letting
I had a video for you guys. I'll give you the 5-second version.
No, wait,
It's-
do the
it's
video.
basically-
Just don't talk about it. Just do the video.
It's basically not going to play because I forgot to do it right. Just
that's
realized
fine,
that.
it's God.
Basically, Bill Nye is now on record as saying that Christianity is bad for children.
What?
What? No,
That's the video. If you want
I
to find
used
it,
to
I'll give you a
like
link.
that guy.
I hate you, Bill Nye. I'm gonna hunt you down.
Like nobody's business. His new show on Netflix. Check it out if you want to laugh and cry all in the same 3 minutes.
Wait, is Barney a criminal too?
The point is, he's not alone. I don't mean to pick on Bill Nye, but he tries to be public, and so I think he's put himself out there to be picked on. A lot of other people believe the same things as Bill Nye, and they just aren't very public about it, and so I can't pick on them. But the point is, a lot of atheists are now of the impression, now of the idea that Christianity is bad for you guys, that it's going to turn you into people who hate science. It's going to turn you into people who think that anything backed up by science is automatically fake. It's going to turn you into people who don't use logic to think. You just believe in things blindly whenever someone tells you what you should believe. And this is their idea about Christianity, that it's brainwashing you. That's the idea, essentially.
Let's brainwash him.
Yeah, Bill Nye.
We really shouldn't have a vengeful spirit about this,
Wait,
okay?
is that why he's Barney?
Because here's the deal. Regardless of how wrong someone is, they're still loved by God. So it doesn't matter if we're talking about an atheist
God
who...
loves everybody.
It doesn't matter if we're talking about an atheist like Bill Nye who's loud and angry about how much they don't like Christianity, or we're talking about an atheist who just decided, yeah, I don't really want to choose a religion. I just want to be a nothing, a non-religious person.
I want to go to.
They actually, on the forms now, it's called nun. N-O-N-E. I want to be a nun. Sounds wrong. That wasn't meant to be a joke.
Seriously ridiculous though, because that's hilarious.
The point is, we are to do what God does, and that is love these people. It doesn't matter if they hate us or they feel completely indifferent. It doesn't matter where on the spectrum they are. We're commanded to love them. The sad thing is that Bill Nye couldn't be more wrong. I mentioned 1962, and I'll just flash through the bar graphs real quick. These are the changes that happened starting in 1962, and I apologize for the horrible quality of these. These are copied out of a tiny paperback book, and so they're blown up way beyond what they should be blown up to. So this is SAT scores after 1962. They were following a norm of relatively flat line, going up above and down below every so often. And this is 1962 up to the 90s. This is birth rates for unwed girls, so girls having babies that aren't married. It was on a relative rise, but it was marginally following the population rise. And then we get to after 1962. This is pregnancies by number as opposed to by percentage. And so they put the population growth out here so you can kind of see the comparison. It was following the population growth, and then suddenly, when you add in abortions, it skyrockets. And this line right here is the guessing line. We don't have stats on abortions that far back. So it starts here. This is where we actually have abortion numbers from this date going forward. So they're just assuming it went from here to here because we have no data in this region. And then this is for older girls. It's basically the same picture. So there's no real differences there. And then this one is single parent, mother only households. Here you have it following the population after 1962. It starts to rise slowly, and then all of a sudden it just loses all sense of slowness and goes crazy fast. This is unmarried couples living together, which was a relative unheard of thing prior to 1962. And then take out religious principles in prayer and starts to become mappable with statistics. It was sub 1%, if that makes sense. And then you have divorce rates, which I know they go back down again. They've come back up a little. We're still #1 in the world, though. Our country has the worst divorce rates on the planet. This is alcohol consumption per capita. So the amount of alcohol drunk every year in gallons compared to the number of people. So it goes up drastically.
So a lot of
even though
people
it's a
disappear.
small set of number differences, this is per person, and so it makes a big difference. And then this is violent crimes. It was actually staying underneath the population line, which is pretty cool. And then, again, it goes through the roof after that. And now atheism is actually trying to kind of preach that violence is attributed to religion, that violence has to do with religion, and that religion promotes violence, which isn't completely untrue, but what they're doing is they're lumping together every false religion all in the same pot with Christianity. And so it muddies the water. They're not really willing to look at this as a fair contest and say, following the true and living God with your entire life, what does that do compared to everything else? They just kind of smash it all together and say, okay, now look at atheist violence versus religious violence. Yeah, religious violence is higher. But that's a lot of people that aren't following the true and living God getting lumped together with the people that are. All right, so what's the takeaway from this? Reach your friends, guys. The outcome of atheism is far more drastic than they realize. At the junior high level, most kids haven't thought about religion that much. Most kids haven't thought about their eternal destination that much. Most kids haven't really given a ton of thought to this conversation, to basically the most important thing in their entire lives. They're not really thinking about it. Now, you'll probably meet some junior hires, some high schoolers who are like firm atheists. They've studied a ton on the issue, and they could probably debate you into the ground. That doesn't mean you shouldn't still share the love of God with them. So start sharing with everyone, because this matters. This isn't just their eternity, it's this life too. This life can be drastically made better or worse just based on whether you know God or you don't know God. And then there's eternity to think about, and that's a whole bigger deal. So talk to your friends, pray for your friends. Don't just go into the conversation without having talked to the Lord of the universe and ask for his help. The reason I encourage you guys so strongly to do this is because you guys have a lot of friends that you get to talk to that me as a pastor, I may never get to talk to. You may have friends you get to talk to about God that no one else on the planet will ever talk to about God. You guys have opportunities that no one else gets. And you get the opportunity right now when you guys are at an age where making your own decisions is what everyone's doing. Now is the time. All right, we're going to close in prayer. Is it important or is it a joke?
It's very important.
I'm not sure I believe you with that smile, but go for it.
It's because I'm very happy. I'll pray for you that you'll convert to Scientology eventually.
Why did I trust him?
Scientology necklace.
The proximity to Jaden is a risk, apparently. All right.
He's
I love you guys. We're going to pray. Try not to leave with that in your head. Try to remember to pray for your friends. All right, guys, let's pray. Lord, we ask that you would help us to learn enough about atheism to see how dangerous it is, to help us realize how much our friends need us, how much our friends need you, and what we can do to help them. Lord, we don't want to ever get stuck into that worldly belief that everyone can just believe what they want and that's okay and just let them be. Lord, we know the truth now. That your judgment is fair and it is coming. Lord, we want to see our friends in heaven. We want to see our friends in a relationship with you where they're not only respecting you, Lord, but living a blessed life for it. Help us, Lord, to have that compassion for our friends, to take this seriously. Help us, Lord, to have opportunity in all the many situations with our friends. Have opportunity to share with them about you. Opportunity to show them love beyond what is normally humanly driven, but the love that comes from you. Lord, we want to be your workers. We want to move your kingdom forward. We want to bring people to you. So help us, Lord. Help us as we see atheism in our country on the rise to be pillars, to be strong Christians, to be the ones that people will flock to when they have real hurt in their lives, when they have real questions on their mind. And help us, Lord, to get our answers from you so that we have some true wisdom to give back to them. We ask all these things in your name. With our heads still bowed, with our eyes still closed, I want to make an offer to everyone here. I know this can be a hard subject if you feel like you're the only one in the room who is an atheist and you're just kind of at church because someone wanted you to come. That can be a real difficult place to be in. And I just want to apologize if you felt any offense tonight. But if you're realizing for the first time that atheism doesn't really work, that atheism doesn't really stand up to the test, then the Bible has something for you. It's called the gospel. And it's very simple. God knew that we would all make mistakes. God knew that we would be separated from him by our mistakes. And that did not sit right with him. He loves you so much that he came up with a way to save you, despite the fact that you've done things against him. Despite the fact that all of us deserve punishment, he has set up a way to take your punishment on himself. He sent his own son, Jesus, to die. It sounds like a crazy thing, but he came to this earth, he lived as a man, and he died, and he took the punishment for us all. The gospel, the good news, that's what that word means, is just that you can put your faith in him, and suddenly his sacrifice will count in your place. His punishment that he endured will be counted as the punishment you should endure. And so God, through that faith you put in his son, he will forgive you of your sins, he can give you eternal life, he can welcome you, adopt you into his family, into his eternal kingdom. And you can live out eternity in heaven. And so if you want to take hold of that right now, if you want to go from what the Bible says, go from death to life, go from living your life on your own to living your life with God, if you want to ask him for forgiveness of everything you will ever do wrong, everything you've ever done wrong, I'm just going to ask you to raise up a hand. It's just to show me you want that. No one's looking around. No one's checking to see who's raising their hand. Most of us here have already done this. We'll be ecstatic if you do. But just raise up that hand to say, I want that. I need forgiveness. I want to ask for that right now. All right, well, Lord, we thank you for these junior hires. Bless them as they go. Draw them close to you this week. We ask that in your name. Amen.
Hey,
Right on.
Daniel,
I love you guys. If you have more questions, feel free to stick around.
Driver.
Oh yeah, I have an announcement. Freeze! We're going to camp in a little less than 2 weeks. Many of you are signed up, but not many of your parents are signed up to drive people to camp. And right now, we're going to need about 20 seat belts. That is a lot. So, tell your parents we need drivers for camp.
Awesome.
We're going up on a Monday. We're coming back on a Saturday. If they're free on either Mondays or Saturdays and they've got a car with some spare seat belts, send them my way.
I can hook you up with some Scientology bands.
Oh my gosh.
Hold up to 20 people.
Jaden, do you even realize how disruptive that was?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
In the future, Jaden,
Oh, you
a
got
joke
that photo.
I don't.
about something we're not talking about at all is disruptive.
That's mine.
So funny.
This is coming
It wasn't even that funny the first time,
Alex, you're like,
and it stopped being funny immediately after the first time.
What's in white on everyone's lap?
It's called exasperation.
They probably felt better.
Have you ever seen a parent who can't even bring themselves to yell at you, and they're just like, that right there, that's why they're laughing.
They want to scream.
Oh yeah. Fish in her bucket? It's a good point.
Sister. Oh, do you know Days of Life produce troubles, right?
Oh, it'd be so fun. I saw a t-shirt today, okay? And it's for teachers, public school. And it says, I'm one of the teachers that survived the 2016-2017 school year. And then it's got 3 boxes on it. And it's a hand holding a fidget spinner. And then it's a kid dapping. And then it's a hand flipping a water bottle. It's like the water bottle's like half full. Like, it was hilarious.
That sounds amazing.
Do you know if I got the scholarship?
Yes, we just sent out the newsletter email today. Your parents should have it. But everyone got theirs. Yes, I can. Can I pee first? Okay, bending over might be difficult until then.
I'm going to play James Guitar.
Okay.
Okay, good, because that might even change. I have no idea. They're like changing a lot of stuff too. Yeah. And it's not even finalized too, so like I'm hearing all these like possibilities. I'm like, okay, just tell me when it's like finalized because I have no idea what's happening.
We're gonna have a meeting, and I would say we're gonna have a meeting. Don't worry, I'm like, good.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, we're going to have a meeting.
Sounds good. Well, that's good.
I know. Yeah, I don't know when.
Oh, my friend. How you doing?
I'm so tired. Work is exhausting.
Yeah. Like, how do you get a job that's awesome? Sneak by you.
Elijah, I have to wait until Daniel finishes going to the bathroom to pop my bag.
Oh, alright. It could be a while. For a one round. But hey, as action, you have my honest word. I will turn it off as soon as we're going.
Okay.
Anyways, Derek Jacobi, the guy who played the master, the master that doesn't remember he's the master. He's in
Tomorrow.
I know.
My face is gonna melt off.
Brandon! Hi! What are you doing here?
I followed the crew.
I'm driving to the Winco run because we got a new vehicle, so. Yes. Having 2 vehicles and being married is the most amazing thing.
We just read the chapter. We didn't really talk about it, and then we broke up into.
Daniel's back. You only take 45 minutes. Stay with us.
Yeah.
Daniel, I know.
It was a full bladder. It wasn't that full.
I know you're back.
By the way, I was telling Emily, I am very jealous of both of you. Because you are going into the Doctor Who series finale without knowing the incredible spoiler that they announced.
Why do you say these things? Don't go down.
Tell him the spoiler.
Brandon, you shush.
Tell him now.
Shut your fat mouth.
I am not going to tell you because that would be incredibly mean.
Oh, good.
But I'm jealous of you because I wish that I didn't know.
Why do you do it?
They announced it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Put your hands up just a little bit. There you go. I just want to be able to walk up and not step on you. Okay.
Anybody want a peach?
Peach. And I write articles for a Doctor Who news site, so.
That's so cute. I went to farmer's market this morning.
There's one in the mornings on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Where's that one?
By my house. you know the old Mervin's parking lot?
Oh, I always forget about that one.
Yeah. I thought that turtle game dropping was Saxon's laugh for a second.
Well, his was pretty loud, but it
Very
wasn't that loud.
alarmed.
By the way, I'm parked next to you.
Oh. He's been just lighting things up like a storm. And there was one thing that I'm pretty sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's it?
That was a lot of
phone
them.
charger thing where you take the thing and you get the little wire. That doesn't work like that. That's a. They need you. They need you there. I mean, the range might be about.
My neck is still stiff from being rear-ended the other
I
day.
still need to give Cody some massage lessons.
And they're like 15.
This needs to happen.
Yeah.
No. Did you see that, Daniel? I was
That was
running a work errand in Bree's car, and I got rear-ended.
They have some
You did?
Yeah. The light turned green, and she must have thought we were going a lot faster, but it was right on slow, and she just right on 32.
That's all I remember.
She caught herself and bumped into me. She poked two nice little neat holes in our bumper from her license plate. And so, but afterwards, because I was braked, our brakes.
I'm starting to think Alexander is this
so I
most
was taking
superior
her to the
brother
service
now.
center.
It was reversed before. Because Alexander was like, oh, woof, like, that guy.
No, it's fine because you're in
But
transit.
now I'm appreciating this.
Yeah, but.
Elijah's not just the one who's
They were showing
bullying
like
you.
your brother's little.
I know I'm trying to make some
Oh, because you're
damage to
taking
this is like other than this yeah, that's the part of the structure
hilarious and original.
It's $730, which is money that we could just make. And I keep trying to explain to her. She's like, it's gonna lower the value of my car. It's like, you have
Or you're
a
gonna resell the car?
you have a 2010 Toyota Corolla. It's a salvage title. We're not even gonna get that much for that. Even if we sold it, the moment that salvage title is taken, it's like, yeah, it might not look pretty. We can fill in the holes with putty or resin or something. And
Worst
put it over
case,
it.
you could take the money, buy the part yourself, and just get down there with some screwdrivers, and you would not spend near that cost.
Yeah.
The part itself is going to cost like, you know,
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That's a popular.
No, he's far beyond his normal.
And then
so many
so
options.
then
They're all spending
I'm
all
trying to
seven
explain,
seconds
it's like
Kind of
you get the bumper and it looks brand spanking new, and the rest of the car is scratched and beat up. And it's like, why do you do that? Just leave that there.
The paint
Nobody,
might not even match the plastic
yeah, it's
anymore.
like,
You know what I mean?
nobody's gonna notice. And that's what I feel like that makes more sense. Because she bought it down
It's her first, like, I bought it.
but it's also like trying to use that money to get a new camera box or anything.
I hope so.
$700.
The random New Year's always come on random Thursdays.
That's
tough.